Desperate to get Spider-Man fans back into reading the comic books, the Disney-owned Marvel is throwing a Hail Mary by resurrecting Spider-Man's early girlfriend, Gwen Stacy, who Stan Lee always said was Peter Parker's one true love. But I have a feeling that this scheme is not going to work. 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side. Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Berry. Welcome to the StudioJake vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post new vidcast, and consider becoming a channel member. One more thing before I get into the topic. I made a deal with my fellow YouTuber Jester Bell that if my video discussing the Emil Perez scandal reaches 500 views, I will watch the movie and record my reaction to it and do a review. If it reaches 1,000 views, then I will do a live review of it. Now, I won't be watching the movie on the live stream. I'll just be reviewing the movie. So all you have to do is go to that video on YouTube, watch it, and leave a comment that says, watch Emil Perez, and I will subject myself to what is being considered one of the worst movies of all time. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to put the link up there. So just click on that. Do it quickly because you have until the end of the week. Gwen Stacy was famously killed off in Marvel Comics a long time ago, and this was even done by Spider-Man co-creators Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. Now, Stan Lee would later go on to say that he considers Gwen Stacy Peter Parker's one true love. However, what was going on with Gwen Stacy was she hated Spider-Man because she blamed him for the death of her father, Captain Stacy. The Amazing Spider-Man kind of retold the story in a different way, where Gwen Stacy figures out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man and she's still in love with him even after her father passes away. And like I said, that's not the case in the original story. So it was like this duality thing where she was in love with Peter Parker, but she hated Spider-Man, and this was causing a lot of strife for the friendly neighborhood hero. And then it all came to an end when she died. Well, because Marvel has done such a poor job of hiring writers for the comic books, turning Ben Reilly into a villain, giving Spider-Gwen and Miles Morales all these new powers, and Peter is just kind of stuck in loser mode, they decided to throw everything at the poor guy. He's now dating some random woman no one cares about, but it's all crashing down as far as the sales of the comics. So Marvel is going to throw this Hail Mary where they're going to bring back Gwen Stacy, and they teased this with an image. I'm going to put the image beside me as I read this article from Bounding Into Comics. In a move that feels as if it came about solely by the hero's current editorial team asking themselves, hey, how can we truly cement our reputation as some of the worst creators to ever handle this character, Marvel Comics teased that the next character in their extensive roster to receive a surprise resurrection will apparently be none other than Spider-Man's first love, Gwen Stacy. At this point in history, most comic fans, even those who have primarily engaged with him through his non-comic book media appearances like his cartoons, live-action films, and video games, know the importance of Gwen Stacy's character. So then the article goes into this history with Gwen Stacy about their relationship and the events that ultimately led up to the infamous comic The Night Gwen Stacy Died. And they also noticed that the comics have brought her back as a clone, as a hologram, as just something within Spider-Man's psyche, which I'll talk about more later. Continue on with the article. On February 11th, Marvel Comics provided a teaser image to various news outlets as drawn by Paco Medina and Maury Hollowell, depicting an unknown figure standing above the recently dug up grave of Gwen Stacy, the shovel used to do the deed still stuck in the torn apart dirt. However, outside of a brief bit of teaser next reading, "Nothing is sacred," Marvel Comics has thus provided no other information regarding the image, including whether or not this is a storyline set for the main Amazing Spider-Man book, a separate miniseries, or something to do with either Spider-Gwen or Gwenpool. Yes, the latter has since been divorced from her Gwen Stacy variant cover origin, but there still exists a non-zero chance the writer would recanonize it in order to tell the story. Rather, they have instead invited readers to stay tuned next week for more information. Now, of course, Gwen Stacy had a very minor role in the 90s Spider-Man the Animated Series. She only appeared in one episode and was largely just replaced by Felicia Hardy and Mary Jane Watson. She had a larger role in Spider-Man 3 as kind of a foil to Kirsten Dunst's Mary Jane. And this one, Gwen Stacy was played by Bryce Dallas Howard. And then, of course, she was kind of made into infamy by Emma Stone in The Amazing Spider-Man and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now, I actually am one of those edgelords who likes Gwen Stacy better. I think she was a better girlfriend for Peter. Now, my colleague who I mentioned earlier, Jester Bell, she totally disagrees. She thought Gwen Stacy was a boring girlfriend for Peter and likes the comic book version, especially the early version of Mary Jane, more so. I respectfully disagree. I think that Gwen Stacy was a more appropriate girlfriend for Peter, but I understand the narrative. And that's not to say I don't like his romance with Mary Jane. I do. In fact, when I started reading comics in the 90s, that was pretty much the norm. He was already married to Mary Jane in the main timeline, and he was dating her in Spider-Man the Animated Series, as well as the Spider-Man Adventures, which was a comic book connected to the TV show. So I knew about Mary Jane, and it wasn't really until I was, I guess, in high school when I really started to look into Gwen Stacy. I guess that would have been around the time Spider-Man 3 was announced, and they announced that she was going to be a part of it. So I researched her character and I got graphic novels that featured her. I read and I actually came to like her better and was very excited to see a live action version. And like I said, she had a very small role in Spider-Man the Animated Series, where it was kind of like the progenitor of the Spider-Verse. I know Dan Slott likes to take credit for creating the Spider-Verse, but it was actually the 90s animated series that introduced the concept where Peter goes into another dimension where he's actually rich and famous as Spider-Man, and Gwen Stacy is his fiance in that world. So anyway, the fact that Gwen Stacy has been one of the characters to stay consistently deceased, at least not in the form of a clone or an alien or an astral projection or a flashback, whatever it may be. And no, I'm not going to talk about Original Sins because that was a terrible story arc. And even Marvel has realized that that's one of the few things they did was they retconned it where it was all an illusion by Mysterio, just to put that in perspective. So continuing on, I think that this is a desperate play by Marvel because I respect that she's one of the few comic book characters like Ben Parker who has stayed consistently deceased. I think that that had a huge impact on Peter Parker's life. Now, for some reason, Marvel is obsessed with keeping Peter a loser. And it's true that he struggled. He dealt with the morality of some of his decisions. He wasn't sure how to keep going. Sometimes he had to drop out of college because he couldn't maintain it. His relationship with Aunt May and Mary Jane would be strained at times, but he'd always come in for the win. And I think that Marvel doesn't want to give Peter Parker wins. They keep making things worse for him. Meanwhile, like I said, the spin-off characters, Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen, and I guess Gwenpool, they keep racking up the W's. For some reason, Marvel Comics is obsessed with not bringing Spider-Man and Mary Jane back together, and it's dumb. Now Mary Jane is a superhero. Why is she a superhero? What made her so good as a girlfriend, and like I said, I like Gwen Stacy better, but I still like Mary Jane as his girlfriend, was that she was extraordinary in a different way. She was a fashion icon. She was very beautiful. She was smart and intelligent, and she would help him through his strife. But now she's a superhero and she's dating this guy, by the way, looks suspiciously like the writer. I wonder if that's a little self-insert fan fiction probably going on. And Peter, instead of putting him back with her, they've been trying to do a bunch of random girlfriends that none are sticking. The fans just aren't vibing. For a while, they tried to put him with Felicia Hardy. Oh, but why is that an issue? Because Marvel Comics retconned her into being a lesbian for some reason, and that was dumb. So everyone was like, wait, you had her come out, now she's back with Peter? I don't know why they just didn't put him with Cindy Moon, because at least their connection makes sense. She's Silk. They were bitten by the same spider. So it makes sense for their attraction to be there. I don't know why they just didn't do that, but Marvel is completely creatively bankrupt. They don't know what they're doing. And this resurgence of the original Gwen Stacy is nothing more than a Hail Mary. They shouldn't be throwing a Hail Mary because they're fourth down. They should be punting. Marvel should just fire that entire creative team and bring on someone like me or C.S. Johnson to write Spider-Man, because we would do a better job. And I'm saying that as a guy who only has 4 novels and a handful of short stories published. I would do a better job writing Spider-Man than all of those Marvel writers combined. And I'm not saying that to toot my own horn. I'm just saying it because they're doing such a sloppy and terrible job. If you liked that video, be sure to give it a like, share it out to all your friends, leave me a comment and tell me what you think, and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast, and consider becoming a channel member. If you would be so kind, head on over to my website, StudioJakeMedia.com, where I talk about all kinds of pop culture topics, including comic books, film, anime, TV, and so much more. Best of all, it's free and there are no ads. You just sign up with your email where you'll get a notification about the daily article that I publish, or you can sign up on the WordPress app. If you want to support the work that I do, head on over to my locals community. The link is in the description of the video. You can sign up for a monthly subscription, or you can send my articles tips. I also do exclusive articles there, and I'm a little behind, but I'm going to try to catch it back up. I would really appreciate it because I also publish my short stories there, and I would love to hear your thoughts on them. Speaking of stories, I've got 4 novels that I've written and published. I've got Cacophony, A Tale of Faith and Fear. It is a supernatural thriller about angels and demons warring over a small Texas town and the souls within. If you like the paranormal, if you like action scenes, you're going to love this one. If you're more into sword and sorcery, check out my series, The Seven Royals. Book 1 is All Good Things. Book 2 is Breaking the Stars. It follows a group of your favorite fairy tale characters as they try to defend their home against a dark army. Book 3 is on its way, and I'm going to have an announcement about that very soon. Last but certainly not least, I have my latest novella, Blessed Child. It is a story about an elf princess who realizes she is pregnant with a human child, and this sends the elven kingdom into turmoil. Her father, the king of the elves, hires a disgraced knight who is on the path of redemption to be her bodyguard, and the two form an unlikely friendship. You're not going to want to miss it. You can get this one or all 4 at Amazon.com. Please pick them up and leave me a 5-star review. It really helps out small indie creators like myself. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.